Before I introduce our esteemed guest this morning, I want you to do one thing. You can even close your eyes. You're in private there. Think of one issue in agriculture you have changed your mind on in the last 5 years. Just one. Okay? You got that? Well, you can even put it into the chat. Because in the next hour, my guess is going to tell you why you probably did not change your mind because you found new facts. You changed it because the people around you did. That is the flock. And today we are not following the flock. This is Growing the Future Productions Live. Don't follow the flock. We are live on YouTube right now. Please like us. I want to be liked. Please subscribe to us. I want you to subscribe. And if you know someone who needs to hear a straight answer instead of a comfortable one, send them this stream right now. My name is Dan Aberhart. I run Growing the Future, Western Canadian Agriculture's foremost live briefing platform. And it's foremost AI for ag training platform now. I grew up alongside a farming operation that today runs over 20,000 acres. Is that too big to farm? Put it in the chat if you think that's too big to farm. I'll pass along the message to my brother. Hey, you're too big to farm. Everything I do lives at growingthefuture.ca. Quick notes, Q&A, and the chat are open. We have not only a guest who's an academic, but a few academics in the audience. I see you. And I'm sure you'll be asking questions as we go. And there are 6 partners in my life that make today possible. They are M&P, they are Crop Aid Nutrition, Hammond Realty, who scored a big one as far as real estate farmland goes here, which we'll touch on. GRIP, Bone Trail Originals, and the Convergence Conference 2027 in Regina this February. My esteemed guest spoke there and knocked the socks off everybody, made their toes curl, really made us think, and someone that we really enjoyed from the East. So without further delay, I want to bring in Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Dan. What an intro.
Oh, man. Well, I'm not done here because I want to tell the audience here, this is, if you don't know, good morning, Steve. Good morning, Ryan. Oh, it's so great to see everybody here. I'm expecting a spicy one. Let's go. Come on, let's bring it. I got Dr. Sylvain Charlebois in the house, director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University, host of the Food Professor podcast, Canada's #1 rated food podcast on Apple, about 20,000 downloads a week on a budget of $0. For comparison, not that we're comparing, everybody's equal. We know everybody's always equal. CBC's Cost of Living podcast runs on $1.5 million budget, but who's counting?
Yeah, who's counting?
Who is counting?
Taxpayers.
They're counting the dollars going out. So he's keynoted in every Canadian province this year. That's wild. Every one of them. None of it, that's a territory, though.
That's right. Yeah. And 4 states in the United States, by the way. Yeah. And one in Ireland just a few weeks ago.
Love it. Yeah. When I was in Ireland, they told me their national export was grass. All the cows.
I got to tell you, I was impressed by Ireland. I did not realize how Brexit is making Ireland the go-to place for companies who wanted to remain in the EU. And you have cranes everywhere. The economy is booming, and the agri-food sector is booming as a result. They're exporting a lot of stuff. It's just been, I left Ireland being inspired, to be honest. I was reminded of how economic growth looked like just for a while, for 4 days. I did. Yeah.
Canada's I was there in 2019 before COVID, just before Brexit.
Yeah.
And they did not know what was going to happen. So tell me more. Why is that then? Because I don't think it was kind to Britain.
No, well, I mean, so they did vote in favor of leaving the EU, which is their decision, and we have to respect that. And but 10 years in, they're dealing with a lot of issues. I mean, the EU was created for one reason, is to increase trades and to level with North America, level with Asia. And so when you leave that, it's kind of you have to redefine yourself. You have to redefine your own economy. But right next door is an English-speaking country, Ireland, and they too drive on the wrong side of the road as well.
Fair. Yeah.
So everything is common. So it's not hard for companies to think, you know what, our head office, we're going to move to Dublin. We're going to move to Ireland. It's easier. I was actually in Cork, and Cork is, if you don't know Ireland, Cork is really the agri-food hub of Ireland. And so and I actually met with the CEO of GBS International, who actually is from Cork originally. He lives in Brazil now. And I also met with the vice president global of PepsiCo, and she's from Cork as well. She lives in New York, in the United States now. So lots of history, lots of successes in Ireland, and it was just great to watch. I was speaking, and I was on a panel with some Irish folks, and yeah, they're very positive and optimistic about the future. And here in Canada, it's really interesting, because when I was on stage, I did make a parallel between Brexit in the UK versus Canada in the US, because right now, of course, the relationship we have with the US is not optimal economically, politically, and I think a lot of Canadians, because of the media coverage that we get by main networks, and this is the one thing that came up in my conversation with the U.S. ambassador just a few days ago, which is on my podcast this week. He basically said what I thought was, we're not reminding Canadians of how valuable that relationship is. We're only talking about the bad stuff. And there are some issues, of course. There are some issues with the Trump administration, with tariffs. I mean, I think most Canadians would agree that tariffs are a bad idea, but at the same time, you need to work with the Americans, because they will remain the number one trading partner. And I think that Brexit, when they voted to leave the EU, they kind of forgot. The one voice overwhelmed the other. The anti-Europe voice overwhelmed the, well, by the way, we created the EU for a reason thing. NAFTA, CUSMA, was created for a reason. It was created to create the most forceful, influential economy, highly integrated economy in the world. And I think a lot of Canadians are forgetting. Farmers aren't forgetting it, because they're in it all day, every day. They feed the world. They understand how valuable that trade deal is. But I actually think that a lot of Canadians are forgetting that.
Well, folks, that's what you're in for today. How do you like that intro? We just went international, nothing
Yeah.
held back. And I want to touch on that a little bit more, but I want to say to the audience, we have somebody special with us today, don't we? You can hear it already. Harry Siemens. Harry Siemens is saying, hello,
I
Mr.
saw him on the
Professor.
list. Yes.
Good to see you here.
Siemens says, Mr. Harry, the Harry Siemens, incredible
Well,
legend.
I want to tell the audience today, make me proud. You know, we've got a real intellect here with us today, and let's make him our honored guest here in the West, and let's ask him some challenging questions. He told me nothing is off the
Ask
hook.
me anything.
And I wanted
Yes.
to focus on debunking some myths, and so we were going to talk to you about a couple things. I guess number one was this climate change thing, because you said nobody else is talking about it the way you are, and number two, gene editing, and number three, there's been some historical events with a farm in Western Canada, as we all know, and we wanted to touch on that because you had a different conversation about that when we were in the green room. But let's ask the audience here, Sylvain, when you hear a strong opinion about Canadian agriculture from a non-farmer, your first instinct is to what? Do you dismiss it, as in they don't understand farming? Do you listen but skeptically listen, or do you take it seriously? outside perspective has value, and it depends entirely on who it's from. So first, why don't you drop some truth bombs on the thesis that we are all a product of the herd?
Yeah, I think it's an important question. I do believe that that food systems become stronger with civic engagement. There's no doubt in my mind. So, I mean, the concept of farming belongs to everyone, should belong to everyone. Now, farmers own obviously their operations, their farm, and their business folks, and they run their business the best they can. But the concept of farming really has to be, I would say, fluid democratically. And you want more civic engagement. You want people to engage with food systems as much as possible, because right now there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of finger pointing towards farmers, mostly because they just misunderstand farming. So as soon as we say, you know what, you're not a farmer, you shouldn't be talking about farming. That's I don't think that's a step in the right direction to make sure that the population is as informed as possible. You want people to engage. You want people to question. Because you're basically also inviting stakeholders like farmers to, answer questions, doubt themselves. I mean, farmers always doubt themselves all the time. That's how you become better at what you do every day. I'm a researcher. I doubt myself every single day. I mean, is this what I'm doing right now? Is it in the best interest of the public? Because I'm paid by taxpayers. So am I serving the public well? And every day I'm wondering, like sometimes I get up in the morning, I say, well, I've done something good. And my most important objective is actually to make sure that the public is as informed as possible. But I depend on farmers to do that. They give me data, but also depend on the public because I need an audience. So I'm kind of in between, just like you, Dan. I mean, what you're doing right now with your show is incredibly important because you want to reach out to as many people as possible and get guests on that will get people to think and perhaps challenge some of the things that they're already thinking about that may be right or wrong, or well, there's no right or wrong. It's just, I mean, food systems are about debates. And but the most important thing I believe is that this paradigm of you know grow what you can and we'll figure out a market for it is just gone. I mean, you need to understand the market, the fragmented nature of markets in order to better do your job as a food provider from, I'd say, store to farm gate. And so it's, I call it demand chain management. I actually wrote a paper 25 years ago on not supply chain management, on demand chain management. It's cited on Google Scholar, and that kind of defined my work as an academic. So think about the consumer first, and then basically build an architecture based on where the consumer is at right now and where the consumer is going to be in 5, 10 years from now. Just like Wayne Gretzky said, where the puck is going to be. And that's the only way to be strategic. And what I'm feeling right now in farming is that we're seeing farmers adopting that paradigm more and more, thinking about the future because of the next gen, because of markets, because of geopolitics. But we also need to have conversations about, the legacy that we leave behind, the stuff that we've been doing, and how we can actually honor our culture as a society, basically. Because food is it's a weird thing in the economy. So we're not making T-shirts, we're not making drugs. It's about food. Food is cultural. Food is personal. So everyone has an opinion, and those opinions are always worthwhile listening to.
Every day I'm wondering. I think that could be a good theme song for you, Sylvain. And we should all
Maybe, yeah.
every day we should be wondering. I could remix that for if you want for your show. The instinct of folks about talking to non-farmers. If you can see this, Sylvain, nobody's dismissing anybody outside of agriculture. 0%. 26% are listening, but skeptically.
Yeah.
32% are saying they take it seriously, and 42% says they're totally depends on who is coming from. Is that
Yeah.
shocking?
Well, the thing is that I mean, I think farmers can tell whether or not someone has actually done his or her homework. I think,
There's a
you know,
bullshit meter built into
there's
every farmer.
there's crazy stuff out there. Let's admit it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's crazy stuff, and I'm an academic, so I try to absorb. So every time I have a show that comes up with the podcast, I get crazy comments, and I write an op-ed for Post Media every 2 3 days. It's published out there, so my opinion is out there. And in French, I write for Les Affaires, and so I'm exposed. I'm out there, so people come to me with some of the most ridiculous comments. I gotta
It's
tell
wild,
you,
eh? It's wild.
but but I always try to respond. Like if you send me an email, I may not respond like right away, but I always will try to respectfully reply to anyone, about grocers, about farming, about climate change, anything. Because of course, when you're out there as an academic, you provide an opinion, and obviously, some people may not agree with your opinion, which is fine. I mean, that's great. We have debates. That's great. But those sometimes they come from left field, and you kind of have to say, okay, well, maybe you may want to read this, maybe you want to read that. But it takes a while for people to change their mind. It takes, it doesn't take like a day. It can take weeks, months, years, and over time, I'm hopeful that at some point, people will realize that there are other ways to see one issue. And right now, to me, the biggest issue I'm facing personally right now in terms of our democracy, our food democracy, is our inability to inform the public properly. And I think a lot of the audience would relate to that in the fact that the media is just covering one side of the story most of the time. And so in February, I wrote for La Presse for 25 years for free, and they decided to let me go because I came out criticizing the subsidy program, the tax credit program supporting media, and that costs the costs are in the millions of dollars. So basically, most media have actually turned into smaller CBCs. And at first I didn't realize it until like we started to deal with some really big issues after COVID, and I saw the bias. Like because I've been working with media for 25 years, and I started to see. So reporters, I give 20, 25 interviews a week, and all of a sudden I was seeing myself being cited in one way versus another, and it was always about protecting Ottawa and the Liberals. It was Trudeau before, now it's Prime Minister Carney, and so whenever I raise the issue about carbon pricing, whenever I raise the issue of supply management, whenever I raise the issue about counter tariffs, uh, of course, President Trump, it's been incredibly frustrating and difficult to really try to inform the public as much as possible. I'm lucky to actually have a connection with the public with my op-eds and the podcast. But when you deal with major networks, you can see that there's an incredible bias towards one specific narrative. And so when it comes to food, if you want an informed public, well, before it was difficult, now it's even more difficult. And I'm struggling with that very much. And that's why I asked the US ambassador to Canada, Pete Orkstra, even though he's controversial, I wanted him on my show because um, I could tell, and I've spoken to the embassy in Ottawa, and I could tell that not a whole lot of his message was coming out. It was very filtered, and Canadians tend to believe that he's a prick, that he's a yes man for President Trump, which he kind of is, but at the same time, when you're dealing with issues like the Gordie Howe Bridge, and why it's closed, and we're only getting one side of the story. The alcohol ban across the country, supply management, and all the things that have happened in the last few years. It's been just so one-sided that right now I'd say that 90% of the Canadian public is doesn't know the whole story. So that's why I had him on. And frankly, Dan, it's incredibly when you think about it, when you think about it, how troubling is it to see one simple academic out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, trying to do the media's job in informing the public? Like, this is sad. I mean, I'm not supposed to be doing this. The media is supposed to be doing this. So, but if I feel I have to do this, is because something is really fundamentally wrong here.
And in promotion of this very event, our ad was not approved. Our paid ad to promote this event. And I don't have all the answers for why, but I can take a wild guess.
Your ad was not approved.
No. I got a note from my my social media manager in the Philippines, God bless her, like, hey, this ad for the thumbnail that we put out, it was not approved to be promoted by that platform. And I just wonder, their filters on high. Their filters on high,
Wow.
right? So
That is interesting.
it is. Yeah.
Well, I speak my mind, so I know that. I mean, I don't really worry about who I'm going to piss off. Like, I just don't. I'll be honest with you, I just don't. When I go on stage, and you've seen me on stage, I say what I think people need to hear, and there's little of that right now in Canada. Think about it. Like, who sponsors major events? I can think of Farm Credit Canada, for example. I can think of BDC, EDC. I mean, some of these groups that are funding a lot of agri-food events are extremely careful politically. So why would they want a guy like me on stage telling things as they are? I mean, if I go on stage today, it's because I've accepted that either I've actually been allowed to say what I want, or I've accepted not to talk about certain things. Like in Ottawa, for example, I tell every time I go to Ottawa, before I go on stage, I'm told, Sylvain, could you just avoid talking about supply management? Or could you avoid talking about carbon pricing? Like, it's just too controversial right now. And I said, fine, whatever. And I go on stage, and I respect that, but it really just bothers me because I have other platforms. I can actually talk about these things elsewhere. But this is the reality, Dan. Whenever you go to events as a farmer or anybody, like, ask yourself how much filtering is going on, and that's not good.
Mm. And to the original question, how much is that affecting everybody's thinking? Harry Seaman says, what I like about the prof is his realness. He doesn't hide. And my mentor and longtime top farm broadcaster in the world who passed away recently, Orion Samuelson, 60 years as a farm broadcaster on WGN Chicago, said, if you eat, you are involved in agriculture.
I would agree with that. Amen.
Bob
Absolutely.
Evans is saying, I'm a researcher. I doubt myself every day. That statement is the antithesis of a warmist. Their attitude is, if you don't believe, you aren't a scientist. What do you think of that?
That's true. Yeah. Bob is absolutely correct. And Bob would know. Bob would know that our colleagues, not all our colleagues, think that way. Because when you actually supervise PhD students, and Bob would can relate to that, you'll probably see other colleagues trying to create mini-me's. I call them mini-me's. So they're trying to replicate who they were 25 years ago or 30 years ago, because they want them to think like they do. And that's not good. So you want the younger generation of scholars to come in with new ideas, different ideas. Because right now, I mean, I know the word woke is thrown around a lot, But in academia, we have a problem. I mean, Bob is not the problem, obviously, but we have a lot of academics who are like-minded and who believe that if you don't click all the boxes, if you don't if you don't try to protect everyone from anything, you're not part. You shouldn't be part of the society, and so you either conform or you get canceled.
The two
That's
C choices is a
That's
formula.
basically it. And so
Mhm.
if especially if you're a free marketer, especially if you think that business is a force for good, oh my God, Dan,
Sacrilege.
you are
Tournament's
forbidden.
sake. Yeah.
But I'm a
Even
tenured full professor. Why do I care? So,
why do
but
you care?
I, I just don't because I got the money I have, the money I want to spend on my students. And do I get invited on panels on campus? Never. I get invited on panels in Ireland and the US.
Yeah.
I
How do
That's
your
the thing.
students see this? Like, where are your students coming from on this?
Well, I mean, I can tell that they read my stuff. And from the get-go, like in September, I'm going to walk into the room. They'll probably know who I am, but I'm going to be pretty clear about academia, about teaching. Teaching is not about what I think as a professor. That's not important. And I will never say what I think about certain policies ever. I'll prompt students to basically express their views, but they may know my views, but I will do my best throughout the entire semester to make sure that my classroom feels as safe as possible and we have diversity of ideas and thought, which is not what I see in academia with professors in particular. They all think the same. They all think the same.
Oh, scary.
Yeah.
Ryan Bonnet is
So
saying, why don't the general population in Eastern Canada see the bias in the media you described, in your opinion?
it's a good question. I mean, like I said, I'm struggling with that one. I do think that we just accept the reality as presented. Like people don't necessarily question anything. There's no critical thinking now. If you sit down and watch the CBC and you think the CBC is trustworthy, why wouldn't you believe what you're seeing? Or even CTV or Global? I mean, that's the thing. We accept the reality as presented, our reality as presented. And in my view, you want different sources. You want to read. My podcast, I don't know about you, Dan, but my podcast is hitting, my audience is growing every week. Why? Because people are starting to realize that if you listen to the CBC, CTV, and Global, it's the same news presented the same way with the same spin. It wasn't like that many years ago, but has become that. And the other thing, Dan, that pisses me off, to be honest, is that the star is not the newsmakers, or aren't the newsmakers. The star is not the story. The star is the newscasters, the reporters. They make themselves a star. Like on Canada Day, like I don't know if I actually watched the CBC for about 5 minutes. That's kind of how much I watched the CBC for the entire year because there was nothing on July 1st, but I saw Adrienne Arsenault with her colleague kayaking on the Rideau River. Like, what do I care? Like, they make themselves the star. It's super, and it's the same for TTV. It's the anchors, the reporters, the exclusives, and podcasts are great because the star is the guest. It's beautiful. Let them talk. Like the ambassador, I just let them talk. And I let the audience come to their own conclusions. Some people liked him, some people hated him. It's great. Let's talk about it.
Isn't wokeism the definition of narcissism, given it's all about virtue signaling on nonsense? I mean, is that too bold to say?
It's part of it. Yeah. But I mean, wokeism is very much about, you know, avoiding friction, avoiding debates, and comply and give everyone rights. And uh, we just forgot that, uh, if you're offended about something, it doesn't mean that you're right. And nobody's really telling people that in their faces. And because I remember one time at Dow, I actually talked about George Floyd's murder, thinking that really it has changed things in the US. And it has really, the Black Lives Matters and everything. And because I was white, I was called a racist because I'm not allowed to talk about George Floyd because I'm white.
Right.
And I was seen as glorifying his death, which obviously was not the case. I
Yeah.
was trying to make a point. So here I was in this office at Dow being accused of being a racist because I said that because it was recorded. Because of course, today, by the way, all students record your lectures. By the way,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Makes
there's
sense.
AI. Oh yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
like as soon as you say something that may be offensive, they go after you. And of course, I'm white, I'm a guy, so I'm vulnerable, can defend myself, fine. But this is the kind of thing that people need to know here. Now, in some universities, they know that we've gone too far. Like the University of Alberta, they've decided like we've gone too far. This is just we're not thinking about the future. For example, like right now, in some campuses, we're thinking about so okay, we should launch a new program looking at women's studies on the one leg because you know what, women that have only have one leg aren't really looked after, so we have to do that. They're not thinking about, I don't know, how many jobs can we create with that? Can we are they going to be employed? And if they're employed, well, what kind of jobs are going to get? We're not asking those kind of questions right now. It's all about, like you said, virtue signaling to basically please the crowd, the academic crowd. There's no strategy.
Well, you gave me some good material there. Obviously, I could take that in a lot of directions, but I'm not going to, in the interest of time and various other concerns. But the audience is popping off here. Harry Siemens is saying, Dr. Prof, a significant change in my belief in thinking is supply management. Whew. Let's go on
Really?
supply management. I say significant because I watched it start and grow, but as it grew, I realized that, oh, wow, this is going the wrong way, but initially was careful how I said it. David Weens was one of my best friends, and I could talk to him anytime. When he became chair of Dairy Farmers of Canada, I had limited access, so yes, I changed my thinking.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow. Well, I know David. He's written me many lawyer letters, love letters.
Is that your
Oh,
love
oh,
language,
oh,
cease
by
and
the way,
desist?
I think Dan, I think in my career I've had lawyers of the dairy farmers in my office 5 times,
Well,
maybe.
Brian Bonnet, you were talking about this actually on another show, and I didn't realize I was talking to somebody yesterday about how powerful they are. But
Oh, they're very powerful. So
mhm.
I've spoken to all leaders. I've spoken to um, Prime Minister Carney, not about supply management, but I've spoken to Pierre Poilievre, Jackman Singh, who's gone. I haven't spoken to the new leader, Avi Lewis, but Elizabeth May, uh, and I mean, I'm realistic. They can't touch supply management. They just can't talk about it. Look at Prime Minister Carney's food security strategy a couple of weeks ago, which really wasn't a strategy between you and I. It was more like a list of investments, good ideas, but not necessarily a strategy. There weren't any measurable outcomes. Anywho, in the plan, there was no mention of supply management, and supply management is 20% of our ag in Canada. 20%, not a word, zero, zippo. And dairy in particular is probably one of the most inefficient sectors we have in Canada. Well, to be fair, to be fair, where you are, Dan, I'd say I would kill for having a dairy sector that looks a lot like what you have where you are right now. Like west of Toronto, that dairy farm, that dairy sector is amazing. Large farms, very efficient, low cost, strategic. They think about vertical integration. They're innovating. But in Ontario, like east of Toronto, Eastern Ontario, Quebec, and the Atlantic, my God, it's all about fair pricing. That's all they care about. Fair pricing, which brings prices higher. So the eastern part of the country is making the entire dairy sector look bad. And I've always argued, you know what? I was asked once by Pierre Poilievre a simple answer like, so you believe in the quota system, Sylvain? Yes, I do. I would reform the system because it's not working, but I would keep the quota system. So what's the one thing, if you're a God, if you look upon Canada and you're able to do one thing to make supply management more like better, what would it be? Simple. Allocate. So allo nationalize the allocation of quotas. Instead of letting provinces manage the quotas, just do the allocation nationally, and you fix everything.
Wow.
But you know what's going to happen then, right? All that capital will flow east to west. And Quebec knows
Right.
that.
Right.
So you
Right.
can't do that. But that's the one thing you could do to keep the same system and serve consumers better. Avoid the Chinese to build a dairy plant in Ontario, which actually happened in Kingston, Ontario. Canada Royal Milk. Yes, we have a baby formula plant in Ontario built by the Chinese. It's incredible. We have Fairlife in Peterborough, built by Coca-Cola, an American company. All these back facilities should have been Canadian. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Definitively, as the food professor, would we have better cheese if not for supply management?
Yes. Oh, well, not only that, we would actually have more affordable cheese. But well,
It would be better and cost less.
well, think about it. I mean, Dan, let's say you want to become a cheese maker and you've mastered the art of cheese making. So you're passionate about it. The first thing you realize you have to pay an arm and a leg for your inputs. So you say, you know what? My cheese is going to be so good, people will still be willing to pay more for my cheese. Then you end up selling your cheese, I don't know, 25 bucks, 30 bucks, 40 bucks a kilo. Like who's got the money?
Mm.
So you do limit opportunities with higher farm gate prices. And when you compare farm gate prices in the US versus Canada, I mean, the difference is anywhere between 30 to 60% because it does fluctuate in the United States. But I mean, our milk and butter fat is way more expensive. And the butter that we have is not great. Have you have you ever tried Irish butter?
I was there, yeah. Oh, well, Europe, like
Oh
that's
my
they're
God.
creamy, a creamy bunch.
It pops in your mouth. It's just it's just incredible. It's so creamy, it's delicious. Then you come back to Canada, even though it's 30 degrees out like today, you need a drill to cut through that butter. And it tastes like plastic. It's just we got accustomed to mediocre butter. Unless you buy grass fed. If you buy grass fed, you're good. But anything else, not good.
Oh wow. Well, hey, this hour has 22 minutes left, and we got some great comments. I appreciate it, but we have 3 hot button topics that we haven't even got to start to cover. So,
Yep.
Steve, I'm just going to read these out really quick. Steve Andjelic saying he agrees. We sadly lost the Peter C. Newmans of the world, where you never knew their political allegiances. He was also called a conservative by liberals, a new Democrat by liberals, and a liberal by conservatives. The hallmark of a true journalist is the story, not the reporter. This is sadly a lost art, and I think you're doing some of this critical thinking, Sylvain. So
Actually, so fun
go
fact
ahead.
for you.
Yeah.
My name was mentioned in the House of Commons in the last year 29 times.
Lovingly, I assume.
But no, actually, I mean, the nice part it was mentioned by both parties,
Oh, that's great.
liberals
Yeah.
and conservatives to defend their point. That's, as an academic, that's what you want. That's the money. That's the money there. Absolutely.
Okay, guys. Well, we got to cover our 3 topics here. Okay. So, Sylvain, let's just do the rapid fire here and then get
Yep.
back to everybody's comments. Climate change.
Yep.
You said you're the only one
Exists.
who's talking about the UN revised its worst case climate scenarios down. Nobody else is talking about that. What's your take on that?
Well, it's again, science is not an absolute. I must say that I was pleased to see the UN at least admit that science is not an absolute, and with more data, we've been accumulating data for barely 150 years to assess climate change. It's not a whole lot. I mean, we have to give ourselves a chance. What I really despise right now is that we are not even hesitating to punish farmers, to punish processors based on the data that we have. And if you want to go after polluters in any other industry, fine. But stakes are pretty darn high when it comes to food. And I've always argued, if you decide to tax people because of their carbon footprint, you got to be darn sure about 2 things: that your data is correct, and 2, that it's actually making a difference. And Prime Minister Carney yesterday just admitted, even though the industrial carbon tax is now at $110 a metric ton, which is still there, our emissions are still going up. And so, what are we accomplishing here? So, climate change is real. It's been real since forever. Farmers have actually been able to adapt very, very successfully. We need more work, of course, on genetics. With the genetic engineering, we've seen wonders there. With gene editing, it's going to be even better. And 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 carbon sequestration also is another is a lot of opportunity for our farmers. But I've always believed that we've simplified the issue of carbon pricing and how we can use it well to support our farmers and incentivize farmers instead of punishing them. Incentivize our food industry instead of punishing them. So I think we just looked at the same problem the wrong way. And the Gilbo of the world is after business. Stephen Gilbo is arguably one of the worst politician in Canadian history, in recent history, because he was an advocate, he was a militant, and he became a cabinet minister with high responsibilities, remaining a militant, punishing what he doesn't believe in, like a religion. He doesn't believe in business at all. So he was punishing business. He wasn't punishing behavior, or he wasn't punishing carbon emissions or things like that. He was after business, which really bothered me quite a bit. And I was very vocal about that. I mean, when he decided to leave, I said, good riddance.
You're talking about a man who was arrested after climbing upon the house of Alberta Premier Ralph Klein. Did you know that?
I think he was arrested a couple of times. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I'm in Quebec right now. He's glorified here.
Yeah. Folk
Like,
here.
how can that be? Anyways,
Okay,
I
so
just
you were getting into gene editing. You were talking
yeah,
about how it's safe, and the only thing that's standing between farmers and this tech is a public that doesn't understand it yet. Make the case.
we need to allow consumers to befriend the enemy. And so we've actually, genetic engineering has actually done wonders for farmers over the last several decades. We've actually made our agriculture more efficient. But what really surprised a lot of people is the reaction to that. And we've seen the Monsanto files. We've seen how barrier. I mean, we just saw the ruling from the Supreme Court recently about cancer and labeling. And so you can see that some groups, very heavily funded groups, are hoping for more transparency. And I've always said, why don't we Why don't we get ahead of the curve and be transparent ourselves? Because I know that the philosophy here, if there are no risks, why fear? Why install fear? Like why label things? I've always thought about this the opposite way. Put it on the labels, made it mandatory, and get consumers to befriend the technology. I mean, most consumers don't know that there's a genetic engineered ingredient in many of the foods that they eat without knowing. But whenever they hear Monsanto, whenever they hear glyphosate, whenever they hear GMO, they're scared. And that's why I think with gene editing, we may repeat the same mistake. We cannot afford not to empower farmers with gene edited crops because it's a beauty. It saves money, you can turn on a dime and provide farmers with new technologies. So we need buy-in from the public. So instead of just adopting technologies in that black box of ours, which is farming, why don't we actually open it up and make sure that consumers remain engaged so they can understand what farmers are actually doing and it's actually safe because they're competent people and they know what they're doing.
Speaking of fear, why does Canada have an inordinately sized fear of failure relative to Americans? Tell us about your experience at Purdue and talk about it in the context of what's happening and with the historical situation with Canada's largest farmer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monette's, yeah. I feel no, it's just unfortunate, but as we were talking before going on air here, I think at some point Canada needs to glorify risk taking and be thankful for the Monettes. And I know it's controversial. I don't care. When I was at Purdue, so every fall I actually give a well, last fall I gave a talk in October at Purdue to entrepreneurs, and and I was actually talking to some folks at a table over lunch before my talk, and there were about 10 farmers, entrepreneurs. Most of them were farmers, but they were looking at launching another business. And so I asked them, how many of you have actually gone bankrupt at least once? And half the table raised their hands. You know, can you imagine asking that question in Canada? Huh? And I said, so why are you here? Like, why are you here trying to launch a new business? Well, it's easy to get capital. Bankers will love the fact that I'm a risk taker, that I've actually made mistakes and I've learned from them. You know, that's the paradigm shift that we need to see in Canada when it comes to risk taking. I don't think we do that enough. So there was a bankruptcy in Quebec, Les Serres de Mers. It was actually bought by Savoura. So it got recovered. Monette is a terrible event. But there's bankruptcies everywhere. But we need to at least recognize that behind these bankruptcies are people, leaders that have actually tried. You know, that's more than most Canadians. They've actually tried. They've taken on risks, and they had dreams, and they pursued their dreams. We shouldn't. How dare we judge that? No, we shouldn't be judging. As an academic, I must say, I'm thankful for entrepreneurs, whether they've actually failed or they've been successful. You know, like Robert Andjelic is someone I admire very much. And you were in Regina with me. I spoke after him. And you remember the first thing I said was to thank Robert. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you see a guy, and I know he's controversial, but when you see a guy park $1 billion and bet on Canadian agriculture, how dare you judge him? He believes in Canadian agriculture. He parked $1 billion. Like who would do that? Like he's doing it for money, of course, but he's this is a vote of confidence towards Canadian agriculture. We should glorify that. We should be thankful for that.
And why in the hell does it take an academic from the East, folks, to say that? And thank you for coming on the show to say that.
Oh,
Because,
I know.
hey, anybody who's been an entrepreneur and done anything knows how hard it is. And it ain't easy to
Absolutely.
have a big dream. And the bigger the dreams, the tougher it is. And anybody who hasn't done it really doesn't have much to contribute as far as like enlightened conversation about it, in my humble opinion. But that's the way she goes. There's lots of folks want to share their opinion. They're certainly entitled in a free country to do so.
Oh, they
ad nauseam.
absolutely.
Ad nauseam.
I suspect that
Yeah,
some people who are listening disagree, which is
yeah.
fine. Absolutely, it's all fine.
No, that's really good. We are getting really close to the top of the hour, but I wanted to pitch you one last question. I think is a really great way to leave this. And there are some other comments. Usually I try to read everybody's, but I want to stay on the hour here. And I think we're going to have you quit back quite a bit, Sylvain. There's so much I wanted to dig
We'll
into.
probably do next time. We'll do face to face.
I'd love that.
Even better over a beer.
Yeah. No, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So Ryan Bonnet is saying, this is a great place to leave it. What are your top 3 priorities in your opinion, Canada has in terms of agriculture and agri-food?
So first of all, Ryan is actually listening in. I'm honored. Wow, that's another legend.
He is
Another legend.
good friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I mean, I'd say so. Resiliency to me. I mean, we talk a lot about politics, but farmers are doing their work. They're still doing it. I'd say, but I would say that we're very lucky to be in Canada, to be honest, because we do have some major trade deals we can rely on to provide opportunities to farmers and to food processors. I think so that would be so. So we're trade reliant, yes, but we have an opportunity to actually become trade focused, like Australia, like New Zealand, and other countries that have done very well. I'd say two, as an academic, I must say when it comes to, and actually we did some work with MNP comparing Canada with other G20 countries. When it comes to soil science, plant science, animal science, I can't think of a better country. We got that down to a T. Processing, not so much. Scaling up companies, not so much. But so when we think about gene editing, for example, we're well equipped to do very well. Absolutely. And I'd say, lastly, I would say right now, um, what would be the other one? Um, I mean, the government is. I know a lot of people are not keen in seeing more corporate welfare, but Canada is actually a leader in that area. Is that a good thing? It's a good thing, and this is based on our study with MNP. It's a good thing if the private sector does the heavy lifting, but that's not the case right now. So right now, a lot of provinces, the feds are investing, but we don't see much. And frankly, I think it has a lot to do with the economy. And so we need to make sure that Canada becomes an attractive place to invest. And the reason why July 1st was such a travesty to me is that, again, we've forgotten how important CUSMA is. And you're seeing the Liberals saying, well, we still have 10 years. We still have 10 years. There's a thing called uncertainty. And when you go to India, when you go to China, when you go to Brazil, I was in Brazil last year. What makes Canada attractive is CUSMA. If CUSMA is under threat, that actually makes Canada less attractive. Can we say that? Like at least once on CTV Global or CBC? Just once. Just to clarify things that, what happened on July 1st, the non-renewal, was not good news.
No.
But then it was spin as good news. Like, what the hell? It is not good news.
The flock.
Yeah.
We have identified it here today, my friend, the flock. Thank you for saying what you're saying and sharing what you shared, Sylvain. I'm honored. And I put the link for Dr. Sylvain's podcast into the chat. And nice shout out at the end for MNP, one of the partners on the show here, and to everybody else that supported this show. I appreciate you. And if you want to be in the room with folks like Sylvain, come to the Convergence Conference. And remember that really nice special gift that you got from Bone Trail that you were
yes,
commenting on it. How special was that?
It was
in
special.
3D. And it's
absolutely. My daughter thinks I'm Han Solo now.
Han Solo keynote speaker. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everybody that showed up today. Thanks for making me proud. What a conversation, Sylvain. Any takeaways and anything that you said, I guess, or
Well,
the
I just
audience
want to
said?
thank you for having me on, Dan. I mean, it's great, and I was actually looking forward when we met in Georgina many months ago,
Right.
and you invited me on your show. I was just looking forward to it, so I'm glad we've done this, and we need to do it again.
Yes, there's so many more topics, and let the audience guide that too with your questions. So I appreciate it. And have a great weekend, everybody. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next week. So next week, we're talking about the renewable diesel plant that's coming at Strathcona that could eat 10% of the canola crop with Sean Wildman from Hammond Realty, who's handling the Monette deal. God bless him, by the way, one of our platform partners. Shout out again. And Quick Dick McDick. So maybe, right? What?
He's been
Hey?
on my podcast.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Oh,
great
wow.
guy. Yeah,
That's
great
interesting.
guy. Oh yeah.
And then I don't know. Have you ever heard of a Canadian by the name of Corey Doctorow? He coined the term enshittification. So he's coming on the show to talk
Oh,
about the whole who owns your tractor. Like you can't fix your tractor in 2026 apparently
right. Well,
because of the
there's a
technology.
new bill like presented by the Conservatives to actually fix that. So it's in the
Perfect.
works right now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that on Friday. So lots more great conversations. Thanks, Sylvain. High fives. Appreciate you. Thanks to the audience. Take care, everybody. Appreciate you.